The Carolina Civic Center was founded in 1928 as both a live-action theater and a movie theater. People flocked from all over to see the shows here. The building originally stayed open until the early 1960s when people began to move out of the downtown area. It was reopened in 1985 for a few short years, but was shut down again due to economic reasons. In 2008, director Richard Seifert took over as the director of the building and helped lead the renovations.
3.5 years ago, we finished this major $2 million renovation that started 2 years before that. A lot of the effort was put into how do you upgrade, renovate a 1928 building to stay true to its history, while also making it work in the present, with modern equipment and HVAC systems. This building, one of the challenges is the fact that this building has gone through so many changes since it was first built. There have been additions and modifications that we had to sort of pick different points in history, depending upon how many things we wanted to tear apart or tear away that may not have been here at the very beginning, but were added even just 10 years later. There's so many things like, the HVAC system alone. The first system in 1928 was what they call a swamp water system. And they would literally take wet peat moss from the swamps and the bogs outside of town and put them in brackets next to the stage, and then a fan behind them would blow through them and blow droplets of water onto the audience. So, it's just how far back do you want to go?
Since the reopening of the theater, many people now reminisce about times they had in the theater before it reopened. According to Seifert, many soldiers coming home from World War II had their first dates after the war in the movie theater. Others remember seeing classics such as The Sound of Music for the first time. However, not all of the history in the Carolina Civic Center is positive.
These folks, when they used to have movies here on Saturdays, and so I like to hear about that. The building, because of its history, and its location, has also some things that were not necessarily positive. During the segregation era, folks were separated based upon their race, with Caucasians being seated on the main floor, but if you were African American or Native American, which would mean if you were from 2/3 of the population of this county, you had to sit upstairs, and those folks were themselves separated by chicken wire.
While special caution has been taken in order to keep the history of the center alive, the building itself seems to have the same goal. The theater is said to be haunted by ghosts.
And I've never denied that I hear a lot of sounds throughout the building, but it's a building that was built in 1928. And so I don't know, however, to answer that, because the more I acknowledge it, the more that I dwell on it. And I don't want to dwell on it, because I'm just not into that. I also, when we were working to save this building, I tell people this, when we were working to save this building, I sort of came in here when the building was empty, and I was working to actually save it. We had not even started renovation. And I sort of made it clear with the ghosts that if I was going to be here alone a lot trying to save the building, that everything had to work nice and smooth. There were no hauntings or scarings or anything. And so I'm going to have to knock on wood when I say this. It's all gone smoothly, and we're all good.
One such story is that a beautiful woman who used to work in the ticket booth can now be seen in the older mirrors that are still in the theater. She is said to show up out of nowhere and then disappear without a trace. A ghost light on the stage is left on at all times today. According to Seifert, it is theater tradition in old theaters where ghosts are said to dwell to leave the light on in order to make the ghosts feel like they haven't been abandoned. Despite whether or not the theater is haunted, it is up and running today, The downstairs lobby is now used for an art gallery, and theater shows and movies are played regularly on stage. A theater is truly a piece of history that we can use and learn from in today's time.